Now we should turn to the genealogy of Seth in Genesis chapter 5, verses 1 through 32. As we might expect, Moses constructed the Sethite genealogy so that his Israelite readers would identify themselves with Seth's lineage. This association was built on at least 4 factors. In the first place, we should note that on a biological level, the nation of Israel descended from the line of Seth. In Genesis chapter 5, verse 32, we read the names of Noah's 3 sons. After Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The name Shem was particularly important to Moses because Shem was the ancestor of Israel. In modern languages, we derive the term Semitic or Semite from the name Shem. Although other nations also came from the seed of Shem, the Israelites were God's special chosen people, and they were from among the descendants of Shem. So in this simple biological sense, Moses connected his Israelite readers with Seth's genealogy. A second association between Seth's line and Israel appears in the repeated focus on the righteousness of Seth's descendants. Seth's line is characterized as faithful and righteous. For instance, according to Genesis chapter 5, verse 24, Enoch walked with God, then he was no more. In the Hebrew Bible, the expression translated walked with God only occurs with reference to Enoch and Noah. Yet time and again, especially in the book of Deuteronomy, Moses told Israel that they were to be like Enoch by walking in the ways of Yahweh. In this way, the faithful Israelites following Moses found another point of identification with the line of Seth. It was their goal to be like Enoch. A third connection between Seth's genealogy and Israel's experience appears in Moses' emphasis on the numbers of Sethites. In Seth's genealogy, we learn that his descendants became quite numerous. Moses brought out the numerical increase of Seth's family by repeating the fact that other sons and daughters were born to the Sethites. In fact, he wrote this comment 9 times in Genesis chapter 5. This emphasis on numbers of people in Seth's line was significant for Moses' Israelite readers because they knew that God had greatly blessed them numerically while in Egypt and during the Exodus. In the fourth place, Moses also stressed the long lives that many Sethites enjoyed in order to connect Israel with the Sethites. For example, we all know that Seth's descendant Methuselah lived longer than anyone in biblical history. According to Genesis chapter 5, verse 27, he lived 969 years. Many other Sethites lived long lives as well. Moses' attention to the long lives of Seth's line was important because, as the law of Moses indicates, long life in the land of promise was to be the goal of the faithful in Israel. By pointing out the long lives of Seth's descendants, Moses drew another connection between the Sethites and Israel. So it is that Moses wrote about the early violence and hope of deliverance in the primeval history in order to draw firm associations with his contemporary world. Cain and his descendants were to be connected with the Egyptians who inflicted violence on Israel. And Abel, Seth, and Seth's descendants were to be connected with the Israelites who were the victims of Egyptian violence. These associations were at the heart of Moses' strategy in this portion of his history.